Attention all freaks. We are now boarding for the flight to Planet E. 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 Planet E.
What's up, everybody? We are live. Finally made it to this day right here. We got something special going on. We got Merlyn with us on the Between Two Turntables and a Microphone podcast. Dude, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it, man. I got to tell everybody how special it is to me, but I'll do it in a second. But thank you so much, man, for coming on, dude. This means a lot to me.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
So we're going to do a couple of announcements real quick. Real quick, I'm not going to try to tie up too much time with it, but just so everybody knows, if you're in a watch party right now and you want to participate in the chat, you got to come to the Mixdays page. I can see the numbers on the screen, but I can't actually see you guys in the chat. So just go ahead and migrate over to the Mixdays page on Facebook for that. And then we got a couple of cool dates coming up. Next Monday, we got Dave London. We got DJ Storm coming up in July. And then we got a couple other verbal confirmations right now, but we haven't got 100% on those. So we're working on those. And then we also got DJ Image doing a Florida Break set on June 17th. So check out the event pages on Facebook, and you'll see all that stuff on there. And then also check out our YouTube page, our Mixcloud page. We got all our back catalog up there. This will be up on YouTube probably in about a week. We got Bahamut up there. We got the Slam and Sean podcast we did. We got the Infinity podcast that we did. So make sure you check that out. All right, enough of that bullshit. All right. So let's do this. All right, man. So I just got to tell everybody. So this is very cool for me because Merlyn, dude, the Spellbound CD is pretty much like, you could say that's the reason why I'm sitting here right now.
That's very cool. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that.
So that CD was when I first found out that I liked breaks. And I didn't know what breaks were per se. I had been listening to like different styles and things like that and kind of just hearing different things. I heard some drum and bass, some Aphrodite and stuff like that, and some house. And but I had heard breaks, I guess, but not in the way that you put it together. So that CD was like, all right, this is it for me. And I was like 16, and I'm 36 now. So that was it for me, man. So dude, that CD changed my life straight up.
I mean, I don't really know how to follow that up, but except for thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I really appreciate that. I'm lucky enough that it's not lucky, fortunate enough that it's kind of stood the test of time, I guess.
For sure, dude. Those tracks, they're timeless. Like, you play them now, and they still ride out. It was a good selection.
It was kind of the point. It was my first official mix CD that came out through a real label. I definitely have my own way of doing stuff. My own style, I guess you could say, and I wanted my first outing to make sure that it represented that, and I think it did.
So was that your first mix CD ever, or were you doing mix CDs prior to that, and they just never got popular like that, or was that your first one?
I mean, there's always the mixtape you do, and you print up your own label, and you sell them out of the trunk of your car or whatever, drop them off the local record store, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the very first official, through a label mix CD was Spellbound. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, so we're definitely going to go deep on that. We'll circle back around to it because I got a ton of questions, all kinds of stuff. So, sure. Man, let's just talk about like you as like a DJ and a producer. Like, how did you get into this style of music, and were you into something before this, or was this kind of always where you're producing from? And were you a DJ before, or did you produce before?
So how deep do you really want to get on this?
I mean, let's do it, man. Let's do it. That's why we're doing this. I want to know. I want to know these things.
All right. I'll try to make it as condensed as possible.
All right.
and cover everything that I think you want to know. So started DJing around 13ish. So basically, when I was growing up, I'm in Miami, from Miami. So anything that had to do with youth culture was drum machine music for the most part. So whether it was freestyle, Miami bass, early hip hop, it's pretty much what I grew up on. So started collecting records very early. Luckily, a guy on my block was in love with my sister, and he had a real Technique 1200 turntable. So he got in with the little brother and let me hang out and kind of showed me the ways around a mixer and a turntable and basic concepts of mixing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was hooked from then on. Mowed a bunch of lawns, told my parents to keep all my birthday and Christmas money, scraped up money, bought my own set.
Were they Tech 1200s? Was that your first?
No, no way. Yeah, there are some belt drives.
Some Geminis? That seems to be one of the standard starters.
I think I might have had one Gemini and one Technique, but they were both belt drives. Yeah. So I think the Technique was had a little bit more torque to it. So it's kind of like a wobbly scenario, but it's better to learn on that type of stuff than on the real high quality stuff first. So
for sure.
So from there, started DJing. Same time, local skating rink I started hanging out with at all the time. Hot Wheels. So anything youth culture based kind of went through there. All the freestyle artists, Miami bass artists, early hip hop artists, even any type of electronic pop music went through there. Started working there as a floor guard. Worked my way up to a DJ there as well. Nothing too fantastic. I was doing 9 to 2 in the afternoon, playing all the pop hits. But it gave me helped me learn how to perform in front of a crowd. How to swallow your mess ups. Gave me a little bit of mic training.
And you were playing records.
Yeah, records. Okay. Yeah. You had a big wall of records behind you. You'd go and you pull it off and you slap them on and you do the whole intro and your backward skates and your deals at the concession stand.
Couple skates.
Exactly. A whole bunch of those mixed in there too. And pretty much from there on, I mean, it was some way or another, my income was related to music from there. So I'm lucky. I'd say I'm a DJ first, probably.
Gotcha. And so when did you get into producing? Did you know that you wanted to produce when you started DJing, or it was just kind of something that you evolved into?
I'm the benefactor of a lot of things, happenstances that kind of just drew me in certain ways. So Hot Wheels, for example, working there. When I first started working there, there was a guy there named Oni Rodriguez who he is the Beat Club of security. For any guys out there who know what security is, if you don't know what it is, go Google it. It's a super important song for a whole wide genre of music out there. The guy who actually created that song started as a DJ at Hot Wheels. So very early, I was able to see, this guy can do it, and he's right there. I can touch him. And now he's on Atlantic Records and selling records all over the world. Interesting. So in the back of my brain, that was kind of percolating.
Gotcha.
Then going through high school and again working at Hot Wheels, just more happenstance. A guy named Al DaCosta. He was a Cuban kid, super nice guy. He dated a friend of mine's sister. Long story short, I don't want to get too wrapped up into it, but it turned out he was a really killer scratch DJ. So good that he took out a bunch of grown men and way more professional DJs at a club called Pac Jam in Miami, which was Luke Skywalker's Skywalker Records. Original teen club. So he rode in there and smoked everybody. So he actually ended up becoming the in-house DJ for anybody on Skywalker Records that didn't have a DJ attached to them. And since, again, he was an acquaintance of mine, a guy I knew, got to know him a lot better later on down the road. But long story short, because of that, I was exposed to the whole Skywalker Records camp really early.
Oh, nice.
I got to meet Mr. Mix and sit in a couple of sessions and so from that point on, it was I can totally do this. all this is in my peripheral. I can see, I can smell, I can hear it. I see kind of what it takes to do. And like from that point on, I was off to the races.
Nice. Dang, that's awesome, man. That's a cool story. Like, that's why we're doing this, dude. That's a cool story. Like Luke Skywalker and all that stuff. That's awesome. That's a good start, dude. That's cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world.
So we'll just say what's up to everybody in the chat real quick. I know we got Ash in there. We got John, Greg, Michael. I mean, Jimmy spelled backwards. Jennifer, Bo. There's a bunch of people I can't get to everybody right now. But if you guys got questions, we're definitely taking questions. So shoot them in the chat. I'll get to them when I can, and then we'll kind of incorporate them into the stream. So okay, so when you started like producing, were you producing breaks? Or were you just kind of, you didn't really know what you were producing? You were just kind of starting off?
No, at that point, breaks wasn't really a thing. It was still, my thing was Miami bass. Anything 808 heavy was my thing. And so, like, I was one of those guys that, like, studied records. So, you know, I knew, you know, basically if I had a Skywalker record symbol, like, I owned that record, and I would study who was on it, who was a producer. Anything that was Miami bass related, Cut It Up Death, anywhere. And, like, I knew what was what. So, you know, in all these songs, you know, you kind of hear people talking about the SP1200, and, you know, you kind of learn, and I see Mr. Mix with SP1200 in Skywalker Studios. So, like, I'm like, oh, I need that. So, again, you know, I got the lawnmower out and saved up my Hot Wheels money. And so between myself and my partner at the time, who had money from ill-gotten gains, let's put it that way, right. We were able to pick up the bargain trader. You might have them up there in your way. So it's basically a catalog you can go through and look at people selling stuff. So
it's like the auto trader. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same thing, just for not for cars.
Same thing for other stuff.
Yeah.
In the back of that magazine was somebody was selling an SP1200 guy up in West Palm Beach. So we trekked up there. We picked up the SP1200 for him. Come back home. We're up all night just trying to figure out how to run this thing, and we load on the disc. And it's samples that we recognize that we didn't really, you know, realize how we had these samples. But turns out, you know, we're hearing like Dynamics to Ignition, like the raw samples, like from this. You know, take out another disc, plug in Bass Generator, and it's like the raw samples from Bass Generator. So we're freaking out. And so from then on, like we had like this really solid foundation of like classic Miami bass samples, and so we learned to flip those, and we learned that machine inside and out. So Miami bass, even now today, is basically, you know, the foundation of kind of what I do. It's where I came from. So that's what I started making. That transition to making, again, back to Hot Wheels, how all this stuff kind of integrates. Another set of brothers that worked there were DJs. They were involved with a record distributor at the time. They did a lot of stuff in South America, and they knew we had this SP1200, and they knew that we knew how to work it. And so they kind of recruited us to do these car audio albums.
Oh, yeah. I know about those, man. I used to work at a car audio place. Like, yeah, the SPL and the bass CDs and stuff like that.
Well, we did a series called, I think it was called Monster DBs. Something like that, something silly like that. And it was all like, you know, just samples we kind of threw together, and, you know, 808 bass stuff and like some break beats, and threw them together and did this thing. And then more stuff just kind of snowballed from that. You know, my partner kept the SP1200. I wanted one myself. I ordered, you know, another machine called the Akai MPC62 at the time. Was a more advanced drum machine that did other things that the SP1200 didn't do. So I learned how to use that, and that allowed me to like sequence other external gear and like actually make real records, and all that stuff kind of snowballed. So very beginning, Miami bass stuff. As I got into the club scene, I transitioned to going, oh, I can do this. So let me do this. And it just kind of snowballed from there continually.
And so these tracks that you were making, like those were on CD, right? Or were they on tape for the bass?
They were both.
They're both.
They were both. Someone actually brought me one, like maybe a couple years ago, to a show. I was like, "Dude, is this you?" And I was like, "Wow, hadn't seen one forever." And like, he wanted me to sign it.
What was the series called again?
I think it's called.
I gotta write it down. Monster.
Yeah, I think it's called Monster DBs.
Monster DBs. Okay.
I think there's like it was out of man, kill me now. Yeah, I couldn't really tell you the exact details. I know somehow or another they were distributed by somebody in Europe, and they came through South America. Long story short.
No, all good. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up afterwards.
They're out there. You can find them.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So is your name on there?
I don't remember.
Okay, all right. Somebody Google check that shit. Let us know.
I'm not sure. I would guess not. I don't think they are, but I think we might have had like a group name or something, and we kind of went with that.
Okay. That's cool. So what was, when did you get into pressing records?
So I discovered the club scene, discovered, I guess the icy form of breakbeats, if you want to put it that way, that kind of like drew like old school classic, hip hop breaks and like some bass stuff and put it together. First time I heard them, I was like, I know this record, but it doesn't go this way. And it was weird to me. And I was like, how do you do that? And so I wanted to do that. And so I found out what the record was. And I was like, oh, okay, I get what he did here. And like kind of went about my own way of doing my own thing. I did that. Came up with, had the foundation for Bring Your Love. Didn't have a vocal on it. Got a vocal for it from somebody around. She came in, dropped the vocal, told her I wanted to sing, put it on there. Another friend of mine, again, through Hot Wheels, was like, this is great. You should put this out. And I was like, don't really know how. And he basically was like, well, you kind of did this whole car CD thing, like ask them how to do it. And so that's what we did. Okay, so I got the information and then asked them how to do it and figured it out. This is the plant you go to. This is the process. This is how it goes. And the guy who was like, you should do this was like, hey, I'll invest. You go ahead and let's put this out and see what happens. I got the money. Let's try and see how it works. And that's literally how it went down. We just kind of threw it out there and it worked.
So Use Your Love, what year was that? Is that
Bring Your Love is...
Or Bring Your Love. Oh, there it is. Never mind, 99. That was... Okay.
No, the first one's 96.
Okay.
The request is 99, I think.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say, so there's... it's actually not even, unless I'm not looking at the right spot, but there's, so it had, the first thing it had, Discogs has is Taken, and then Search, and then Path of Redemption, and then Bring Your Love is later down the list, but you're saying that's
probably why it's not there is because when it first came out, it was under a different name. It wasn't my Merlyn name.
Oh, okay. All right. So what name was it under?
So one side was the Bring Your Love side was Quest at the time. The flip side was my other partner, Jinx. But this is all before internet. So you couldn't just like get on and go, oh, who has this name? You just kind of came up with your name and hopefully that was cool. And come to find out that, there was 1,000 Quests and there was a few Jinx. And I was like, okay, well, I got to change this. But that's why you don't see the original Bring Your Love under Merlyn.
Gotcha. Okay, so I happen to have this record, but you're probably not going to be able to see it because it's too white in the glare. Let me see. All right, well, anyway, it's, this side, the label side, or the info side is Jinx, Compassion, and then the label side is Quest, Bring Your Love. It doesn't have... Does it have a year on it? Dreamscape Records, okay. So, so we need to fix Discogs. I forgot about that. We got to get your Discogs fixed because it says that you're Jinx. And like we were talking before, I was like, are you cut free, Jinx? But this is a different, your Quest, not Jinx. Okay. So I need to write the year on this. Okay. All right, so actually...
I'm not sure. I think it's 96, though.
Okay. So, wow, really? Okay. Dang. I'll have to listen to that again. All right. So let's talk about your DJ name then. That's a good segue. So you started out as Quest. We started out as like Bass Monsters or whatever, Monster DVs, and then Quest for a little while, and then you got into Merlyn. So how did Merlyn come about? By the way, love the name. I love like fantasy books and things like that, dude. Wizards and shit. That's my thing. So how did you come up with that?
So basically when I was a kid, I kind of read a lot of novels, in that realm. So it's always kind of in the back of my brain. So when I wasn't Quest for very long, literally the record came out and I was like, oh, there's like 1,000 other ones. So basically I put my head together with a girl I was dating at the time she's like, why don't you, I kind of threw Merlyn out there, and she's like, yeah, that's great. It's awesome. I was like, okay.
Did it start with the Y, or was it not with the Y?
It was an I, but I was trying to be a little bit proactive. Once I thought about it, I was like, you know what, let me add a little something to it. So in case there is another Merlyn out there, which of course there was, pretty sure they came after me, I think. But I was proactive and changed the I to a Y.
So around what year was that you became Merlyn?
I think I did it I was right after Bring Your Love came out. Okay. So the next record was Search, and in between there was Taken as well. No, actually in between there was Path to Redemption, I believe, on Insomniac Records. So by then it was already with a Y.
Okay. So, all right. So somebody's asking how many of the Quest were pressed?
That's a rough one. I know the first run was 1,500, and then I think we did 3 more runs of that one at about the same clip. So somewhere in there.
Okay. To make a note of that. Fact checked you. I don't know. I'm just playing. I have no idea.
Basically, I kind of put the kibosh on it after a while. Like I didn't really want to print any more of them. I wanted to kind of put it away and move on a little bit.
I didn't know it was you until we had that conversation on the test run, because I didn't know that you were. I thought when you said Jinx and Quest, I was like, oh, it just made me think. I'm like, I have that record. I just randomly got it. I had bought somebody's collection, and that was in there. And I thought it was Jinx. That's why I picked it, because I thought it was cut free Jinx. I'm like, all right, it's probably okay. You know, he's all right. Some of the stuff's all right. So I'm like, all right, fine, I'll just take it. I didn't even listen to it.
I think it's because the label's backwards. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at that record in a while, but I think it's right. I think the label's backwards, which makes sense of why you'd think it's the other side.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So, all right. So then let's get into. So you made some records. Let's see, Discogs. I'm just looking on here. So we're talking 96 to 97, 98, 99, and then you have. Let's talk about Path to Redemption, since we're talking about tracks. So I have. Let me find it. Here it is. So I got Path to Redemption. May or may not be able to see it. People may not. It just says Insomniac. Yeah, the glare's too bad. So what's on the back here? Oh, the Insomniac thing. So yeah, this is one side is a trance remix. The other side is the original remix, 1998. So talk about that. Let's talk about how that came about.
Sure. So high school friend of mine, Jasp, went to high school together. We've known each other forever. He was heavily into analog electronic music, and he liked breakbeats. He liked breaks music and Miami bass and all that other good stuff. But he wasn't a DJ, so he didn't quite understand exactly how to put together a club record. Not that I did either, to be honest, but I just kind of had an innate thing because I DJ'd. If you DJ, you kind of understand how things are supposed to go.
Right.
So Insomniac 01 was a Jasp record, and it was good. It was great. It just wasn't a club record. He was like, man, I want people to play my music. Like, how do I make a club record? And I said, well, let's do one together. Because at the time, Bring Your Love came out, and I was it's a whole nother story, Bring Your Love, but long story short, I don't personally myself love that record. But so I was kind of happy to put it away for a while.
Gotcha.
So when we got together, it was kind of a chance for me to flex some more skills than I thought that Bring Your Love showed, and he wanted to do the same. So hence the name, like it's our path to redemption, as corny as it.
All right. It's always a story, man.
There's always a story, and it's not always the best one, but whatever. I was a kid and dumb, and it's fine. So yeah, that's how that happened. We put that together in his bedroom. We were both really happy with how it came out, and apparently a lot of other people liked it too, and did really well.
Yeah, I played it on the live stream. I like it. It was a record that I had in a crate, and I just forgot about it. And then I was like, oh, let me try this, because I needed to clean some stuff. And I was like, damn, I forgot about this song. It's really good. I like it.
Thank you.
And then, so what's next? Let's see. So we're just going to go through these tracks since I got them all sitting out here. So, all right, Solar Flares. We're going to come back to Spellbound. Don't think you're getting out of that. But so let's see. I got Solar Flares. So this is you got a remix, Terminal Head remix, and what year was this? 2003.
Yeah, so. that's a later, definitely later record. Yeah, my style changed a lot by then. That's more like an electro vibey kind of, at the time a new schooly bass line type of deal.
I like the name, dude. I like the name. Solar Flare is a good name. Goes good.
Yeah, I'm a little dramatic in my names. I try not to do that too much these days with the drama, but they seem to fit at the time. So so far so good. Yeah, one of my record I really like. I still like it today. Still pull it out and play it on occasion. Not really much more to say about it. Did well as far as I know. It wasn't my label. It was on DBI Records, which was a record label that also was a distributor as well. Dave Berg, if you're out there. I don't think you are, but if you are, what's up?
Dave Berg is DBI?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I got some Dave Berg tracks. I Keep It Moving, and I like his stuff. I didn't know that was him though.
He ran the label and the distribution company, and so like they kind of have like a 2-in-1 thing. So it made sense for them to have an in-house record label, and I had this record laying around, and he loved it and put it out, and it did great.
Cool. So, and then this other one that you forgot about till I mentioned, I actually should have said this one first, The Light Comes On. So this one, if I remember it right, this is probably like a 3 a.m., 4 a.m. track. Is this one of the ones that's like kind of like light and like melodic and stuff? I guess it's called The Light Comes On. I should take that as my cue. It's like, all right.
Yeah, there's so Dropbox. I mean, no, not Dropbox. What was the name of the store in Orlando?
Drop Shop.
Drop Shop. There you go. Thank you. So Drop Shop, same thing. They had an in-house label, and that was for their in-house record label. They reached out to me and wanted to remix, and the samples were cool. And it's a kind of progressive-y, breakbeaty type of thing. To be honest with you, I don't think too many of them came out. Like I first time I've seen that record in years, and I'd kind of forgotten about it, to be honest. Somebody hit me up, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, and were asking, where can I find this record? And I was like, what record? And so I had to like get on and Google and see what it was. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot all about this thing.
What is this thing on the back? The picture.
I don't think I ever saw real copies of it. I think I got a couple of test pressings and kind of forgot about it after that.
I mean, it looks like a lock, or I don't know. I don't actually do it. It looks like a lock. It looks like a lock inside of a beaker. That's the best description I can give. I don't actually know what it is.
Yeah, I remember the artist. It was Sloth and Dormant, and I think the original record was like a UK thing, something from Europe that they licensed to put out, and they needed like some, a breakbeat thing to go along with it to help sales out, and it came out, and I forgot all about it, to be honest.
It's good. I played it on the stream too. It was another one that I wasn't really sure what it was, and I played it, and I was like, oh, this is perfect for like just kind of coming down the set, bringing the levels down on it a little bit. So I like that one. So, all right, let's talk about Spellbound, man. So we're going to spend some time on this bitch. So, all right, so let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about the label or the CD jacket picture, because so without even hearing the CD, just looking at it, and I forgot to bring my copy. Shit, all right, that's okay. Just looking at it, yeah, I was going to do that. I can't believe I forgot. It's like, all right, this is a CD it's where it's at. Like just the pictures, the club, just like that DJ booth or whatever it was. So talk about like the pictures and stuff that were on there and where that was.
So the picture was actually, it's kind of hard to see, but there was a really popular house and at the time trance club called Shadow Lounge. It's across the street from Grooveman Records, where I was the breakbeat buyer for a long time, and turns out I was actually the resident DJ at Shadow Lounge for the early part of the night for probably about 3 years. So it was myself and then George Acosta in the middle of his like trance superstardom, was the main resident DJ there. But everybody came through there. Sasha and Digweed came through there. Tala and Tosher, Paul Van Dyke used to play there all the time. So that's actually a picture of the club. That's me. I'm actually playing that night. A friend of mine who took pictures, Antoinette Zavala, took that picture for me. She came around, snapped some photos. And yeah, so that's actually like a real club picture with me actually playing in Shadow Lounge, which I kind of hid the fact that it was Shadow Lounge because Shadow Lounge didn't have anything to do with breaks at all.
Okay.
But it was a great picture. And so, yeah. That's how that came.
An epic picture, man. Like one of the coolest. Like just it captures the moment so good as far as like the club going off. Like it's great.
When I saw it, I knew it was the flick. I knew it was the pick to use.
Yeah.
And you did a great job. She's a great photographer, Antoinette. If you're out there, thank you.
And even the font that you guys use, Spellbound, so you had a record before that, Spellbound, or a track.
I had a lot of tracks before that.
No, I mean one called Spellbound. Sorry.
Oh,
is that right?
So I think right around the same time it came out. So Spellbound and Incantations, me and my names again, were came out right when Spellbound came out. So Incantations is probably the one that I liked and that everyone played. Spellbound was all right. But yeah.
But you chose to make the CD the same name, the whole.
It just kind of worked.
Yeah, no, it does.
And the picture, like I've spent a lot of time on the track listing. It was when I nailed the mix. It was all done live at the time. There was no like multi-tracking really. When I nailed the mix, I kind of knew I got it, and I knew it was something cool.
Yeah.
And so.
So what's up? Let's say what's up to everybody in the chat. I know it's hard to keep up with everybody, so if I haven't got to your question, put it in there again. But what's up, Brett? What's up, Larry? What's up, Jimmy? What's up, Bo? What's up, everybody that's in the chat? Oh, just so you know, my claim to fame, the audio bots, Chris and Brett?
Of course.
I introduced them to each other.
Oh, nice.
So
very cool.
That's my one claim to fame that I have.
They're cool dudes.
Yeah.
So they support a lot, and they're always super nice guys, and they've come a long way and doing some cool stuff themselves.
Right? Yeah, man, they've come a long way. They used to record in my living room with their 808s and 303s and shit like that. Having to unplug the refrigerator to get the hum out of the recording.
Yeah, always super cool guys, man. Nothing but good stuff to say about them.
Yeah. So what's up, Brett? All right. So yeah, let's talk about the track selection then, man. So I'm interested in. Okay, so I've made a bunch of mix CDs before, but never anything that's licensed or anything like that. And so when I've done it, it's kind of been like I've been playing out or playing like on radio shows or something like that, and I kind of get a couple of tracks that I think go together, and then I try to assemble a mix out of that. How did you come up with the tracks for Spellbound?
I'm pretty strategic in the things that I do. When it comes to, I don't have a lot of mixes out there. I don't you can check my SoundCloud. The last mix I threw up there is I don't even know when. Like I don't just bang out mixes. I don't just bang out records either. My catalog is small, but I think I spend time and quality. I think it's pretty good.
For sure.
Same thing kind of went with this. Like it was my first official mix CD, and I wanted to be impactful. And I knew I had my own sound that people liked, and I wanted to make sure that I represented that on my first official outing to the public outside of Miami and South Florida. So yeah, it wasn't just all unreleased stuff. Like the Hybrid record was a record that had been out before. Final Bump had been out. Bump in the Night had been out before as well. And all records that I just really liked. And I wanted to make sure that the mix wasn't just, the new stuff. And I wanted to make sure it was a long-lasting mix that you could kind of listen to over and over again. And I kind of think I achieved that. So that's the thought process that went into it, at least. So there was some unreleased stuff at the time. I think Get Fresh was unreleased at the time.
Dude, Get Fresh, man. When the first time I heard that song, I lost my shit, dude. That's man, it's such a banger. That was a good choice to put on there.
R Fresh, good friend of mine. We've known each other for years. When he started working with Infinity, it just clicked. It was really great stuff. So yeah, that was unreleased. I think the Funk Lab record at the time was a remix that was unreleased at the time. There's a few other unreleased stuff, but it wasn't like my main goal. My main goal was just to make a good mix CD that, what didn't have the new hottest stuff that everyone, kind of wanted to put on their stuff. I took my time, I curated well, and I think I did a fairly good job.
True that. So those tracks, were you playing them out at the time, or like you assembled them just for the purpose of this CD or this mix?
I think most of them I had, again, the Hybrid record is an older record. This Bump in the Night is an older record, but those are all records that I really liked. And some of the promos I'd gotten, I was playing out at the same time. I think most of that was kind of what I was playing at the same time. Okay. But again, there was a couple of records that I knew that I wanted to kind of throw in there that maybe like again, the Hybrid record was a record that I loved from the first time I heard it, but nobody ever really played it.
Right.
So, I was like, oh, no, and, distinctive at the time, I believe that they'd stopped pressing it. So they literally, when that CD, when the Spellbound came out, they went ahead and reprinted that to.
Oh, nice.
So by that time, like that record had been forgotten by anyone who had it. And well, not anyone who had it. They all played it, but like anybody, no one would have known, I don't think, if I didn't bring it back.
Right.
That sounds like a humble brag, but that's not what I mean.
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
It was a gem that I don't think enough people got to see shine. So like I wanted to make sure, and it's something that I love. So I wanted to make sure that I included that as well.
Right. And putting it in with the mix, I mean, that kind of like changes the dynamic of the song. It just like adds more to it as you're, the build up and things like that. So how many takes did you have to do to get it perfect? Because yeah, like you said, it's vinyl, right? You're playing on vinyls, and like yeah, that's tough to get a perfect mix out of there. So I'm interested to hear about that.
Yeah, I ran it more than a few times.
Like, were you tired of mixing it by the time you got done with it? You're like, I'm sick of this shit.
So I mean, you kind of know that there's no room for mistakes, though. Like, I'd get to the end, and then one little thing, the needle would skip, or someone's, whatever, or anything could happen, or like I'm on the last mix, and I flub a mix, and shit, you got to go back and start from the beginning.
Yeah.
That happens quite a bit. There's a flub or two in there too if you listen. There's a couple of things that get kind of wonky in there, but they were good enough. It was a live mix straight up. So
right.
And it. Most people don't catch it, but there's some wonkiness in there.
I've never listened to it to catch anything, because yeah, you're your biggest critic when you make a mix, and it's like a lot of people don't hear it. So did you record it? You recording it in a studio or at your house?
Yeah, well, okay. At the time I had a fair studio, but basically that was my 2 turntables, a mixer, and directly into a DAT machine in my bedroom.
Wow. Yeah. Dang.
Pretty weird.
Masterpiece coming out of your bedroom, dude. I mean, it's by far my favorite breaks mix. I mean, CD.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's definitely a classic. So, all right, let's talk about some other mixes that you put out. Somebody said, okay, Lotus Position. Was that another mix?
That's just a free mix. I threw it on my SoundCloud, but people really seem to like that one too. So.
Okay, but that wasn't ever going to be put out on CD.
It was like I printed CDs and then gave them out. I think it was a conference CD. I think Ash did the artwork for it. So, thanks Ash for that. I think we just printed up like, I don't know, maybe 100, 200 and flung them out. And then it lives on my SoundCloud now today, I think.
Okay. Somebody brought it up in the chat. So what was the other one that we had talked about briefly? Okay. So there's Spellbound and then there's the New Horizons.
Yeah, so New Horizons was Spellbound came out and it was doing very, very well. They were a little bit surprised how well it did. So Street Beat Records is where it came out on, and they were actively trying to recruit people to do things for the label. So they Baby Ann was a label mate with me for a while. At the same time, our first CDs came out around the same time there. They were trying to get Ice to do stuff, but he was already doing his stuff, so they never nailed him. And then at that time, there was a global movement kind of happening. The UK guys had their own scene, Coleman and Bones, Teo with Mob guys, and their sound was, kind of starting to merge with, the US break sound a little bit. At least it was recognizable to both of us, and we could, kind of play some of their stuff and some of our stuff, and it just became just kind of one thing.
Right.
So they decided they wanted to start off a volume of CDs that kind of represented that sound, but they weren't quite sure that they wanted a UK guy to helm it yet because they didn't know how popular they were here in the US. So they asked me to do it. So, I've always been a head for progressive music. Big progressive house guy. Sasha and Digweed are some of my favorites. So I kind of took that angle from a breakbeat perspective and did New Horizons to kick off that series for them. I think next was Coleman Bones. I forget who came after that, to be honest.
And so that one, did it get released en masse? Okay.
Yeah. No, that's another. Most people don't really know it's me, sort of. I mean, the people that are guys that kind of look through or ladies that look through and like read the liner notes, like they'll realize it's me. But most people don't necessarily go, "Oh yeah, you had that CD," but it was kind of one of those weird CDs that it did really great things for me as far as it helped me break out a little bit more globally and, nationally and then globally, because it wasn't a traditional, breakbeat CD from the US that most people would associate with US breaks.
Gotcha.
So it kind of gave me like this weird perspective that I could, give me some freedom to like go places and do different things and like kind of like introduce like the breakbeat that I loved, to other people who may not have heard it.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, and so it's called New Horizons: The Next Generation of Breaks. Okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, if they wanted to know it was you, they would have had to have looked on the back or something like that. Or did it say mixed by Merlyn or something below the title?
It says in there somewhere. I think my name is like underneath the title. It says mixed by Merlyn, I believe. Okay. Yeah, it was. They were very quickly trying to like bang stuff out. So they had me slated for another CD, but that got derailed for, I don't know if you want to go down that rabbit hole. But.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, we can't, because when we were talking, I've seen the cover photo of that CD. So it was you standing in front of the building and looking down, I think, and then you could see your reflection behind you or something like that. So yeah, no, let's talk about that. I don't know if everybody's seen that. I happened to come across it sometime in the past.
Yeah, I'm still trying to. I mean, I might have used that for a press pick for a while. I'm still trying to figure out where you saw that, but I may have used it for a press pick now that I think about it. And like I said, so it's going to be called, again, me and my dumb names, Soul Reflection.
Yeah.
There's in the back.
Hence exactly.
Whatever. So they were ready to go for round two. The CD was mixed. I had a single to go along with it. I believe it actually got printed up and got promoted. I know they had like the point of purchase, sales posters. Those were ready to go because I still got a bunch of them.
Was that on vinyl or was that CDJs by then?
So the mix was CD, of course. The single, I think they had a lot of stuff, a couple of things in the chamber. I think Baby Ann had another CD that was coming out around the same time. Some other people were coming out at the same time as well. So what they did is they put together a sampler of the singles that, they want to release the mixed CD along with a single. And
Gotcha. Okay.
So the mix CD was ready to go. The sampler got out. I don't know how far and why it was a promo. They didn't sell it as far as I know.
I wonder why it's not on Discogs.
It probably wouldn't have been. I don't think it ever got like to like a sales point of view. I know they got out. I know it got reviewed. I know that I think the CD actually got reviewed too. But September 11th hit and wiped all off the table. Street Beat decided. Well, they didn't decide, but they decided to be a little bit more careful with the funds they spent, and they kind of saw the downturn in the economy coming, and they weren't totally sure how much more invested they wanted to be in the breakbeat scene at the time.
Were they Florida? Are they Florida based? Street Beat?
Yeah.
Or were they? Okay.
Street Beat is Pandis Records. So basically, if you know all the early like freestyle stuff and the Miami based stuff on Pandisc, you know, you can all sorts of stuff that were on Pandisc, and Street Beat was their club music.
Okay. No, I have some Pandisc stuff. Totally, the labels look like they came out of the 80s.
Yeah. They're based in Miami, not far from here actually, maybe about 20 minutes. All right.
So everybody in the chat, dude, we definitely thank you guys for hanging out. We're not even done. We're not even close to done. So, but if you guys could, you know, throw out a share, we're definitely trying to get as many people to join us as they can so they can all participate in this because it's something cool. As far as I know, there's not really much like this going on, so it's cool to hear from Merlyn about all this stuff. So let's talk about your traveling, man. So when did you break out and started like touring nationally? Like what was that? What caused that, I guess? Like when was your breakout moment?
Momentum, I guess. I've always been kind of calculated with like what I've done, and I've never been one to just kind of go, oh yeah, all in here because this is what's happening right now. It's just kind of slow burn, slow and steady is always kind of won the race for me. So I think things started to get nationally when right around Spellbound. So one of my very good friends, Michelle Survey, she was my booking agent for a long time. She actually got me my Pandis deal, along with Baby Ann's deal, and along with some other people. I think Funk Lab were with us too. They had a CD that came out too, I believe. So she booked all of us nationally. So as I, started, as the CD came out and gained momentum, she started putting me in places that got me more and more exposure. She ended up going on and let's just say she handled a lot of really, really big artists. Right now, she runs some of the bigger festivals, Sunset Music Festival, Tampa. She's in charge of that.
Yep.
So that's kind of what she does these days. But thanks to her, without her hard work, I wouldn't be talking to you, I don't think. So thank you, Michelle. I love you.
So that was like 99, 98, 99 era, 2000 eras when you started?
I think it's 99.
Okay. I
think 99 is when things started to really pick up.
And then when did you go? What was your first international gig?
I got to think about that. Probably Canada makes the most sense.
Okay.
So I mean, let's see. I think I pretty much hit everywhere in the U.S., Canada, Colombia, Peru, Argentina, Spain, London. I think that's it. I mean,
that's pretty good. I've never been to Spain or London. Yeah.
Not complaining.
So what is the break scene like outside of the U.S.?
Depends on where you are. And I mean, we're talking the break scene, break beats, any kind of broken beat music kind of fluctuates with popularity in regions. And, some people discover it or, sometimes you have a lull and then it comes back. We've experienced that multiple times.
For sure.
In the US. But the times that I was, moving around and getting around, it's been pretty great. I mean, they had to be doing pretty well to, fly me from the U.S. to where I was going. So, Spain's got a really strong break scene. They always have.
When were you in Spain? Because I do want to touch on that a little bit. So let's talk about that because I've seen those guys posting their videos, like Yo Speed and Mutant Breaks and KDJs and all those guys. And it looks like their parties are going off.
Yeah, Keith McKenzie lives there for the most part. He used to go there. I've been a couple of times. I think I've been 2 or 3 times. And that's literally based on, so for some strange reason, my second record, which came out after Bring Your Love, Search, was a huge, huge, huge hit there. I still get hit up consistently for people from Spain asking me for that record, and I haven't had copies in decades, literally. But yeah, that's what got me over there. They've got a great scene. They like their breaks really fast.
Okay.
But they're really great people. They party, they have a great time. They really love the music. The crew over there is really, really nice. Coulter was a really great guy. Yeah, Spain seems pretty cool. Sevilla. Shout out to Sevilla. I'm in talks to go back over there this year, actually. I don't know how that's going to pan out. But,
right. It seems like, I mean, this is just my outside perspective, but it seems like they have new blood in the scene. Or maybe it's just been around for a while, but it seems to me just like they're like younger and they have like a newer generation of people that are into the music. Is that accurate?
So what I can tell you is, so Spain in particular has their promoters have probably done a better job than U.S. promoters have at reinvigorating who's coming to the parties and like making a concerted effort to bring people who, as they age out, to replenish the user base or the customer base or the club goer. Spain's been pretty good about that, but they've had their ebbs and flows too. They've been, breaks have been more popular and less popular over the years as well, but they may be able to do that a little bit better because they're also a smaller country.
Right.
So it might be easier for them to pull more people and to do more things. Brazil's got a stupid scene right now also. Super Miami bass heavy with their percussion and vocals. It's called ballet funk. They have this really unique and interesting scene popping off there. It's been going on for a long time. But yeah, so like, again, different people discover like broken, syncopated, like low end music and it pops off.
Right. So one of the themes that I talk about on this, not always on the live streams, but just with DJs in general, is just the lack of new people that are coming into the scene, like into the music. And and it's like that's one reason why I kind of started doing this. I'm like, well, we're all getting old. We need to get some shit down here, so people know, what was going on and what had happened. So, I just want to pose a question. What do you think would be a good way to get new blood into the music?
Whew, that's a loaded question.
It's a good question, though, right?
Yeah, no. It's a great question.
I'm going to ask every guest from now on this question.
No, you actually should. It's a great question.
What's up, Glenn? Glenn is here at the perfect time.
Oh wow,
Glenn. The question is, what is a good way to get new people new blood into the scene, the break scene?
So this is going to be an unpopular answer for probably a lot of people that are in the thread or listening. I don't know how many people are there, but nostalgia kind of kills forward momentum as far as I'm concerned. It's why I've kind of stopped doing old school parties, because old school music sounds old. Just like, the momentum that's attached, the memories and the feelings that are attached to it, I understand it, but I've done way better music with the new stuff than I have back then. And, we got to this weird point where, people were like, yeah, we miss the old feeling and we want to, hear those old classics and feel good. And promoters kind of got on the bandwagon. They were just doing this stuff. And they don't realize that to people coming up today, that just sounds like old ass music. They can't relate to it at all in any way, shape, or form. I'm speaking in broad generalizations here, but there's nothing that can connect, the youth from today to like what we were doing back then. So if you don't kind of move and migrate your sound, don't get me wrong, I still make, broken beat music. I still make breaks and I still make Miami bass is what I, for the most part, consider what I do now. It's just a new form of it.
Right.
But I maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've got a jaded view, but what I think that what I do and what I make now resonates with more of the people coming up. Take somebody like, friend of mine, Ernesto, who just recently kind of, in the last few years, kind of broke on the scene. He made a lot of noise with, this. It's a bass record and it's out on Dirty Bird. Like, there's no mistaking about it. It's a bass broken beat record, and he waves the flag for breaks. He signifies himself as that, and that's what he plays when he's at a Dirty Bird party or a Perfect Driver party or whatever psycho disco party. He's on all these labels and he plays a break set. and no one bats an eye at it. No one says, "Oh, that's this old school," because he's making breakbeats that's for today.
Right.
That works. So instead of like trying to hear Yummy for the thousandth time, as great as Yummy is, Sandy, I love you. Andy Hughes, I love you. Yummy's an awesome record. But if I hear it one more time.
Yeah. Dude, your answer is my answer. I literally had that exact same response to somebody that did this podcast with last week. So the way that I shaped it was, if the reunion parties were a high school class reunion, you're not going to go to somebody else's high school class reunion. So why would you go?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't know the high school and you didn't go there, why would you go to a reunion party?
1,000%.
Even though they're awesome, they're cool, and it's awesome to hear the tracks and all that stuff, but it's actually, in my opinion, and in my opinion is exactly what you said, it's doing the opposite for bringing new people in, because it's basically closing that party off, and the only people who are going to be interested in it are ones who know what it is.
For sure. 1,000%. And that's not to say that there's not a place for you.
Oh, yeah.
You just can't have 5 a year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're fun parties, but you know what? I haven't been to a reunion party in forever, because I'm like, I already know what's going down. You know? It's like, I remember seeing you at Live Nation in Fort Lauderdale, and I forget, I don't know if it was a cultural party or something like that. And,
yeah, probably a cultural.
Yeah, and those weren't reunion parties.
No. I mean, like I said, I've done in the last, like, I kind of put my foot down. I was like, I'm not doing these anymore, because it's not doing anybody any good. And I think what ended up happening is, over time, you saw those reunion numbers kind of dwindle down. And, you know, it's great to relive those memories once a year.
Right.
That's cool. That's fine. But, you know, you can't have, like, you know, it's like one of those guys, you know, from, hey, man, come up and play. You're in the middle of a house set, and if someone comes up to you and says, hey, why don't you play some Beatles? You're like, what are you talking about, guy? Like, get out of here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we got to appeal to the youth, you know? So, yeah, that old stuff, you're right. I mean, I love the shit out of Florida breaks, old Florida breaks. Dude, that's my preference. Like, I mean, I got hundreds of records sitting right here. When I do my live stream, that's what I'm playing, just because Facebook doesn't really catch that for copyright. But that's just like my preference. And before I got my turntables fixed, you know, I was playing all the new stuff. And what's crazy about the new music is it's great. Like, the new breaks music is fucking incredible.
Yeah,
and it's like nobody. Well, and I don't want to, like, you know, generalize here or step out of what I know, but to me it doesn't seem like there's a lot of new blood finding out about that new music.
You just said a mouthful there in what you were saying, and I think you stumbled across something that this might take us to a tangent that can get way deeper, and we don't have to get in deep in this, but, like, you said Florida breaks, and that's a term that I've never gravitated towards myself personally.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the term Florida breaks, because Florida breaks specifically have a very specific sound.
Right. And
that's to their benefit and to their negative aspect of it as well. Generally for me, whenever you attach a region to a genre of music, you're kind of dooming that genre of music to die sooner or later. That's, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of you know, Be More still out there and still doing great, et cetera. But Florida breaks is not something that I would categorize with myself or the vast majority of the music that I play, or I would never categorize Ash or Jimmy as Florida breaks.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I totally agree with that. I don't consider your sound a Florida break sound. I always thought of you more in the in-between electro and Florida breaks kind of realm. Like, you're more on the darker, in my opinion, more on the darker side of like the bass side.
Sure.
Yeah, you're definitely not the Shiraz and Fix style, you know, stuff like that. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Shiraz and Fix.
Yeah,
I've got plenty of Shiraz records and Fix records in my catalog that I've played over the years. It's just the particular sound that most people identify as Florida breaks is just not something that, you know, again, like for me personally, like my influences have come from a lot of different places. You know, I've said a couple of times I'm a huge Shasta and Digweed fan. When I first started going out to clubs, Bruce Wilcox, who's no longer with us, but was the resident DJ at my club, which was the Edge, which is where I would go to every weekend to hear Bruce Wilcox DJ. And he didn't play anything broken beat until way later in the night. So like I got to learn and fall in love with house music and progressive house, and he'd drop a breakbeat in between there, and you get these wide variety of different kind of textures throughout the night, and it took you in different places and exposed you to a wide variety of different things. So all that, everything that I was exposed to at that time, garage, acid house, all that stuff kind of finds its way into my breaks or broken beat music in one way or another. So for me personally, I don't think I fall into the category of Florida breaks, and that's not the sound of it. It's just not where I think I if you're going to categorize me, I don't think that's the right place to put it. I'm just a breakbeat dude.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I like I said, I never thought of you. See, my thoughts about the breaks thing, and I'm not an expert, but there's kind of like a division of sound, like when you move towards Orlando, maybe from maybe West Palm Beach-ish up, and I'm in Fort Pierce, so I'm 45 minutes north of West Palm Beach. I got more of the Orlando stuff here, but then when you go down south, I mean, it's not, that's not as prevalent. It's more of like the bass heavy stuff, and I mean, and you're in that region, so yeah, it's cool how though Florida is not that big, but there can be these different segments of the sound. It's pretty cool how that works.
It is very cool, and all regions have very specific sounds. Although it's the same type of music. Like again, I don't want to say that Florida breaks is a bad thing. It's not. No. Like I'm in Florida and I happen to make breakbeat music. It's just that the Miami sound is it's even different than the West Palm Beach sound to an extent. But even in West Palm Beach, you've got James Wolfe, and you've got Exact making like straight up electro, and you've got Kimmy and Johnny that are doing these kind of in between progressive house break stuff, and then you move up a little bit further, you go left, and you've got the Tampa sound. You have the Fix stuff that he went ahead and kind of pioneered that sound, and then you've got Orlando, which is Icy's home. That kind of schooled all of us. Then also in West Palm Beach, you've got Dynamics 2, and you've got Jacqueline Hyde sprinkled in around there, and there's all sorts of different sounds to come from Florida. So for me, Florida breaks is a very specific genre of this type of breakbeat music that comes from Florida, but in no way encompasses all of Florida.
No, definitely not. But you're definitely right about the whole, if you're assigning a geographic area to a sound, like you're pigeonholing yourself into one spot, and eventually and this goes back to the new blood, like they don't know what Florida breaks are, like that term has expired. And so just so everybody knows, I'm glad that I brought this up and we talked about it, because I forgot that I wanted to ask you this. So this whole, because I am genuinely concerned about the longevity of the breaks scene and music in general, just because of, in just my opinion, and it seems like you shared a little bit, just like we're not getting an influx of newer people into this, and it seems like maybe in other areas there are. And so it's like, what happens when we're all old and dead? Is break still going to be around, or is there only going to be a couple of people? So people who are in the scene, I encourage you to think about this, because, breaks as a whole, just kind of in my opinion, has been on a slight decline. Not musically. Musically, the music is fucking great, but bringing new people into the scene, it seems like we're suffering there.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack with what you just said. Yeah. Yes. There is definitely a decline in what we traditionally know as breaks or the breakbeat scene, but that happens everywhere. I mean, breaks as we know are broken beats. They were around before us, and they'll be around after us. They'll always change and migrate, and new people will discover it. And right now, drum and bass is having a moment right now. I mean, drum and bass was dead for a while. I mean, me take that back. Drum and bass to the general masses was dead for a while, but the true drum and bass heads were always drum and bass heads. And now that you've got, man, I was going through some really great drum and bass records the other day that I was like, man, drum and bass is like doing some really killer stuff.
Fire, dude. It's fire.
That's still happening with breakbeats as well. The difference is that traditional breakbeat guys aren't the guys that are making it. It's, I can't remember I mean, I'm on a certain, amount of promo list. Zone still sends me stuff. Plump Guy still sends me stuff. I'm on a fair amount of promo lists, but in general, what I'm playing today, the records I play don't come from breakbeat records. They're normally a B-side on a house record. That's this really killer breakbeat record or really dope electro tune. That is like a different take on what everybody else that's making breaks is doing.
Right.
And that's the fun part. That's the cool part, is to like kind of go and dig and find those things and then keep your own sound going, where that's different from like what everybody else is kind of making right now. Right. Although Ice has been banging out records for God knows how long, and he's consistently been able to kind of reinvent himself. You still hear an Icy record and you know it's Icy,
right? But
it doesn't sound how it sounded, 10 years ago.
No.
I mean, you might not like it, you might like it, but it's definitely, you can hear his evolution. Right. And that's what kind of needs to keep pushing this forward. You can't be trying to make records that sound like they're when you came into the scene. I mean, you could, and there's people that will like it, and that's fine. That's cool. Everyone has their own taste and their own what they want to hear. But if you want to move this thing forward, you got to keep moving forward.
Right. It doesn't sound modern, when you're trying to make it sound like the old stuff. So the drum and bass documentary. So besides the controversy that is surrounding that documentary, if you guys have not seen the drum and bass documentary, The Movement, or Drum and Bass, The Movement, I mean, I don't know enough about drum and bass to comment on the controversy about who was in it and who wasn't in it. But one thing that it illustrates, which is what actually made me think about this topic more than I had been, is it shows how new people, new artists, new fans, new festivals, new parties were being injected into the drum and bass scene. And when you have new people coming into the music, then you have new artists making new drum and bass, which Pendulum was one of those people. And they're like Sub Focus, a bunch of guys, and so you basically have the older generation signing these new guys who have a new sound and who are evolving the drum and bass sound just by being younger and having access to new technology, a good understanding of music, being around the scene, and it's like this machine that just keeps growing and growing, and now it's turned into, it's worldwide. They were talking, Tony Coleman was talking about just how it's a lot bigger than you think it is, the drum and bass scene. I mean,
like I said, I spent, in the last month, I've probably grabbed more drum and bass records than I have in years. I mean, really cool sounding stuff like that is banging. Like, I can't wait to go to a dope drum and bass party to hear all the stuff that I've been hearing recently. It's really good.
Yeah.
And same thing, like I'm starting to get in my inbox, I'm starting to see a lot more two-step garage come back. That's really good. So like if you're not a fan of two-step garage or like know much about two-step garage, it was a big thing in the UK. It was like a more upscale version of breaks with like, that kind of R&B mix. And it's kind of coming back around again. This really cool new sounds around that two-step beat, but it's really dope stuff. And then going back to like, I'm harping on Ernesto, but even Mark Starr, Mark Starr is doing really cool stuff. And you got Justin Martin and Christian Martin, and every couple of records they got a banging breakbeat record, but it's not a breakbeat label. Doesn't sound like a traditional Florida breaks record.
Oh no! So the Dirty Bird thing you were talking about. So yeah. I happened. Who's the guy that runs Dirty Bird?
Claude Von Stroke.
Yes. Frankly. So I heard Claude Von Stroke's one of his mixes, and it was straight up electro breaks.
Yeah.
It sounded like some exact shit or like some hydraulics sound and stuff. And I was like, this guy, this isn't his thing. But his whole set was that. I don't know if it was his original stuff, but I was like, damn, this sounds like kind of like the stuff that Stingray plays.
I mean, they're all from San Francisco and West Coast. They all came up on Electroliners and Bassman Twins, and they know that sound. Just that, you know, they've gone through drum and bass and house stuff, and they're like, why am I not making this cool breakbeat that I want to make? And they just make it, and people go crazy for it. And then, you know, breakbeat producers can't figure out that, like, we need to be making stuff that, like, well, actually, let me roll back a little bit. Don't make things just because you think the mass is going to like it. Like, if in your heart, what you want to make is breakbeats that sounds like the 90s, great, then you should totally do that. But if you are somebody that, like, cares about this music, let me take that back, because even if you do make breakbeat that sound like the 90s, doesn't mean you don't care about the music. That means that that's what you particularly care about. But with me and like my crew and the guys that, like, I try to surround myself with and that I work with and I speak with on a regular basis, and that we, you know, trade tracks and promos and etc., we're all, you know, luckily, you know, we all kind of do this for the love of it now. And it's literally, we're just trying to, like, make cool shit, man, and get it out there. We don't really necessarily care too much whether they sell a bunch of copies anymore, because you don't really sell that many digital copies anyway. But it's more of like, look, man, this is what I think is dope. Let me just throw it out there. And if you guys like it, great. Go play it, and maybe some new kid's gonna go, dude, what is that? I need that. What is that? And then find other cool shit. And then that's how the ball gets rolling.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like the Dirty Bird thing, you know, he has a lot of other music that they're putting out, you know, different styles and genres and stuff like that. So it's like they have a wide audience who may not even know what breaks is. But then when they hear it, they're like, oh, shit, what is this? You know, and it's like, okay, that would cause them to possibly look deeper into the music. But there's not a lot of, in my opinion, there's not a lot of, like, modern labels that are putting out stuff, a lot of breakbeat stuff that people can find and then kind of, like, get into the music. You know, it's like you have to know, you have to know the artist to find the breaks. And if you're not into breaks, you're never going to find it.
Well, I mean, some truth to that. But, I mean, Beatport has a breakbeat chart, and so does Juno. And it's just that a lot of the things that are on there, let's just say that they aren't my personal taste, and it's not what I want to project to try to get out there personally myself.
Right.
You know, if the number one record is a record that I don't particularly care for, it doesn't mean that the record sucks. It just means that I don't particularly like it, and that a bunch of other people really do. Right. And that's great. Good for them. But there are people out there making music. You can get on Beatport right now and kind of go through the top 100, and there's a truckload of breakbeat in there. Well, not the top 100 general, but if you go to the breakbeat section, the breakbeat charts, there's all sorts of different stuff in there. Whether it's quality or good, that's up to you guys, and, you know, up to the people that are kind of listening to it. So for me in general, like I said, I mean, we don't really. When I put out a record, I push it and I try to, you know, get it out there and get people's eyes on it. But we don't really necessarily care about moving numbers. It's about getting out what we want to get out. If it's dope and I think it's good and I think other people might want to hear it and have a chance to play it, then great, take it, go.
Right. And so, I mean, it's a good topic, right? It's a good question. It's a very important question that I feel like we should be asking ourselves as participants in this music and the scene. And it's like, you know, like breaks haven't been at Ultra in years. Like the last time I saw breaks at Ultra, I saw Dynamix 2 and versus Jacqueline Hyde on the side stage. And it was Future Sound of Breaks. And I think I saw Icy on the flyer a couple years after that. But recently, I don't really know. I know there's not a break stage, and it kind of just seems like breaks isn't really represented at a lot of festivals. Actually, most festivals, it's just not something that people are into right now.
No, we played. When I say we, I mean myself, Icy, Jimmy was with me. Trying to think of who else was there, and I don't want to leave anybody. Yeah, I think Kimmy and Johnny played too. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we were on. They had a stage that they brought back. Producer Artist Management was behind it, and they provided the breakbeat artists for that stage, and it was cool. We had a good time.
It was at Ultra.
Yeah, it was at Ultra.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, see, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, most people didn't. It wasn't like a big deal. It was kind of like a side stage, but it was cool. It was nice. It was nice to be there again. But yeah, we just globally the movement that the broken beat movement isn't a strong thing, because there's no, and not that you necessarily have to have a guys just out there marching in one particular direction to do this particular thing. It's just very hard to find breaks that translate to a wide variety of the user palette today. So
right.
Somebody who likes traditional EDM music, dubstep or trap or tech house or house. For somebody to slide in a breaks record in a set like that, kind of has to fit in the context of those 4 or 5 things I just named.
Yep.
And if you're not making music that is up to date and new, in my particular perception, then you're not going to make it into a set that has those 4 different genres in it.
Right. And so that right there is on that drum and bass documentary. They talk about how some of the D&B producers break through, get on a major label, and they make it onto like the radio. And that's like popping above the surface from the underground and saying, hey, here's this music that you may not have heard before, but now it's exposed to the mainstream because it has that sound that you're talking about. And then boom, all these people see it, hear it, and then they find that's like the tunnel into the underground, so they can start finding the drum and bass. And that's another way that they're pulling in new people.
Yeah. I mean, Ice, back to Icy again. Ice is he's probably the one I've seen do it best, because he's actively every day, he's in the studio banging out an edit or a new record or something. So he's constantly got his finger on the pulse of like what's happening. Right. So he's always got a wide arsenal of music to fit no matter where he is. He can play at Ulster, he can play for a Big Beat set, he can play anywhere. And that's the type of dedication it takes to kind of move that movement forward, but he's really the only one doing it.
Right.
Because other people are making other kinds of music that doesn't translate.
Yeah. So I think, so anybody listening who's a producer or, promoter or whatever, like, I definitely think it's a question that we need to be asking ourselves, because, we all love this. I've been in this for 20 years. You've been in it longer than that probably. And, I've thrown a shit ton of parties, and one of the reasons why I stopped was just because people stopped coming. It was like I was seeing the same people, and then those people just got tired of coming, and there's no rotation, because we're not bringing in new people. So it was like, all right, there's not really a demand for this anymore. I'm not going to keep losing money doing this. So we can move on from this, but I'm definitely glad that we talked about it, man, because I think it's something that needs to be being discussed just amongst the different crews and groups and artists and things like that. Like, there needs to be some kind of conscious effort to move this thing forward into the modern era, so that we can get new people in and have a presence, at festivals or, whatever, just having new parties that aren't reunion parties and things like that, that new people are actually coming to, not throwing a new party, people don't show up. You want, parties that people are coming to. So it's something important. So we'll move on from that though, man, but that makes me really happy, dude, to hear all that. So let's talk about Quad.
Cool.
So Quad, I heard Hydraulics for the first time, I think, at Future Sound of Breaks. When was Hydraulics formed?
I have to think about that one. For those who might not know, I am not in Hydraulics, but we share a label together. Quad Recordings is our label. Hydraulics is Ash Rock and Jimmy the Genius, in case you don't know. Ash and I have been playing together for years. We were both residents for Culture. I still am. He no longer lives in South Florida. So,
shout out to Ash. He's in the chat.
What up, Ash? How are you, buddy?
And Jimmy.
So yeah, they. To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure when they formed together. Ash came up, production wise. He kind of cut his teeth in my studio and a jazz studio. Kind of gave him the raw tools of hey, he'd bring us a record and go, how's this? And be like, oh, it's good. I won't play it because of this, this, and this. You can change it or not. And then he would go back and come back with another thing. And his first record was Bionic. And from there, he just was kind of off and did his own thing and started making this really incredible music. And then somewhere along the way, he found Jimmy, or Jimmy found him, or don't really know how it worked out. And and they got together and started making this really super future electro dance floor banging stuff that was just like, wow, like where did you guys get these skills from? Like out of nowhere. It was literally like that. Ash was making cool records, and then all of a sudden it was just this mind blowing stuff, and everybody like worldwide was dialing in. You know, they were on Touching Base, and Andrea Parker. Don't know if you know who she is, but if you do, go back, or if you don't know who she is, go Google Andrea Parker and Touching Base. Not Touching Base. I forget the name of her label. Somewhere in the chat, someone say it. But they have a whole album on Andrea Parker's label. And yeah, they just started making really dope music. The only problem wasn't really a problem. They did fine on their first record. They formed the label together, Quad, just the two of them, and they put out the first record. They just didn't have the industry connections I did, sort of. They didn't really know like how to run a record label, or like what the process was, or where you need to go to like really get numbers out there. So
Ash said it is Touching Base.
Touching Base.
Yeah.
Thanks. I thought I was right, but I wasn't sure. So you know, they asked me to come in and be a part of the label and kind of help guide them in that way. And so that's how we came together. I think I'm on the second. My first Quad release was Owner's Manual EP. I think there's 2 records from them on that, and 1 from me. That's the Dominate record with being a vocoder rapping. Great record. I like it. Still proud of that one. And then we've been together ever since, really.
So on Discogs, you got Jock the Bells, Elevated Disco, Slide, and then Just Listen. And actually, Brett wanted us to touch on Elevated Disco, which I don't think I've heard any of these songs, to be honest.
Jump on. They're all on Beatport right now. They're around. Elevated Disco. I actually dropped the ball on that one, to be honest with you. It's a great record. The mix is just really bad. It doesn't hit in the way that I want. When I made that record, I was redoing my studio, and I was kind of revamping. Like I changed my monitor, or I had my old monitors. I didn't really realize that I needed to kind of update my stuff. And so I was trying all this stuff mix-wise, and I don't think I really nailed it. It's a good record, still good, still sounds all right in the club. Doesn't really knock the way I wanted it to. I think I'm going to go back and redo that one. But it's a great record. I just think I kind of did it a disservice. But I'll get back to it again.
I'll have to check it out. And so let's see what else is on here. Jock the Bells. Let's see. Jock the Bells, and then Jock the Bells, Ash Rock, Jock the Bass Dub.
Yeah, so Jock the Bells is another record I'm really happy with. Was really popular. Stanton Warriors loved it, and so they blasted it everywhere, and then it actually got super popular. It's the one record, Ash, you better hang on to this because it's the first and last time you're ever going to hear me say this. It's the one record that Ash actually blew me out of the frame on. His dub mix. And I don't even play my record. I play his.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I hope you're happy with that one.
I always wondered how people took that. If the remix comes out better than the original.
Just is what it is, man. If you get blown out the frame, you get blown out the frame.
Yeah, but the frame was built by you, so it's like, look, you gave them.
Let's not get it twisted. Like, my mix is still good.
Yeah.
Just better.
Okay, no, that's cool. Yeah, no, he thinks that's funny. All right, and then so Slide.
Another solid record. My last few records that have come out, I've been really, really pleased with. And they've done pretty well. I think from Jock the Bells on, I think everything's pretty much been top 5
Nice.
Beatport. A couple of ones in there. I think Jock the Bells, My Mix hit 1. I think Just Listen got to 2, record with me and Jimmy. I think everything's been at least top 10.
Yeah. I'm sure.
The last we let Quad kind of dwindle for a little bit, but the revamping of the stuff, I think almost everything that's come out since then has done pretty well.
So what are you doing right now as far as music? On Discogs, which I don't know if this is the last release says 2018. So have you put anything out?
Discogs is a little weird because I mean it's not the best guide in the world because they really go by vinyl for the most part, and they kind of do digital too, but it kind of falls off the wayside. So let's see. I had a record that just came out on Zone. Not last year? I forget when it was. But it's two-sided. One was called Bump, and the other side was I forget right now, to be honest. Right. But the other side was actually the one that was the popular one and did well, and that one was another banger. It did well in the charts too. I think that one hit number 1 too. Why can't I remember my record?
So are you working on anything right now? Or like how does your production work? So are you just, if you get some kind of inspiration, you decide to make a track, or you're always kind of like fiddling around with things and then like one of them turns into a track, or like how does your production work?
Yeah, I've kind of always been, I don't really write a record until I feel like I need one, sort of. I always bang out a couple things, and I'm always fooling around with things, and I'm in the industry, so like I'm always, there's a new synth that comes out, or like the companies that I work with, they come out with a new synth, so I'm always noodling and putting things together and like, oh, this is cool, and like, oh, that's a nice patch, let me tweak this, and start doing something together with it, and those eventually turn into records, but there's no time frame on it. Like I'm lucky now that for a long time I lived off DJing and production, and that's a rough life to do.
Right.
It's really hard to like have to get into the studio and write something that you don't really feel, or it sucks to have to take a gig that you don't really want to take, but you kind of need the money. I'm lucky enough, fortunate enough to be in that position. I don't like to use the word luck because luck kind of says that it falls into your lap. Nothing's really fallen to my lap. I've gotten a lot of good opportunities, but kind of have to pick up the ball and run with it a little bit. So I've been fortunate, definitely for sure, to be able to still have a job, to be involved in music in all aspects of my life, but not be beholden to putting out records consistently or DJing, to do it when I want to. And I think that in general comes out to be a better product, both DJ set wise and music wise.
Yeah, because you get to like recharge your music battery.
Yeah. Like for during this whole pandemic thing, like I've spent some time like learning, really diving into some of the gear that I acquired recently that I haven't really had a whole lot of time to get into. There's records that are in the can that are good and done and ready to go.
Are you releasing on Quad still?
That's another solid question. So Quad right now is, it's don't get everybody don't freak out there. Quad's still together. We're still good. Just Ash happens to be in California. Me and Jimmy are still here. We still talk. Everything's great. Everything's awesome. Everything's fine. We're still putting our records on Quad. It's just currently right now, it's more of just a general outlet for us when we decide we want to put something out on Quad. So all of a sudden Jimmy will pop up with a record and be like, hey, I got a record. I'm just going to throw it on Quad. And great. It's more of like a kind of a collective idea type of deal instead of like more of a real solid record label that does this and that.
But you got some brand recognition in there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's us. We have a Quad sound, and people dig it, and it's still like a good collective between some friends that are good friends still, and we still do our thing. And it's still fun to get together and DJ and make records when we do, and it's awesome. For me myself, though, there'll be a new label soon for me.
Your own label or somebody else's label?
No, it'll be mine.
Oh, nice. You heard it first here.
Yeah, you definitely heard it first here. There's still going to be plenty of Quad records. Don't worry. But there's going to be more music, not just, and maybe not just even broken beat stuff. Like I'm an underground house head, there'll be everything I do will always be 808 influenced and super bass heavy, but you can have super bass heavy stuff that's not necessarily just a broken beat all the way through. It'll probably end up being a broken beat somewhere in there, but doesn't necessarily have to start off one or end off one, or there's a bunch of stuff that I want to do.
Right.
So, and putting it on Quad wouldn't necessarily do it justice to do that.
You're not putting house out on Quad, right?
Quad want a Quad banger, and that's what they're going to continue to get. But now on the label, I'm gonna kind of put together. It's already pretty much done. Ash, I'm looking at you. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But get on it. Yeah, there's plenty of new music around. It'll come out when a lot of it's done. Where it comes out, who knows? Right. Doesn't really matter one way or really. It'll come out where it belongs, and that'll be that. There'll probably be some more Zone records too. Yeah. Shortly.
Zone is Icy, right?
Yeah, so okay. Icy distributes Squad. Most people don't know that.
Oh no, I did not know that. All these nuggets.
Yeah. So again, love Ice. Known him forever. Good friend. Had a lot of good times together. He distributes Quad, for us because he's about that record label life. He's in the studio every day from this time to this time. At least as far as I know, he is. Sorry, Ice, if I'm talking out of turn, but I'm pretty sure you're still on the same regiment. Like he gets in, it's a 9-to-5 job for him. He bangs them out, so he's ready to rock wherever he is, and he has consistent releases on Zone, regular. Where we're not really like that. It's more of like, hey, when we want to put our record, we kind of put out a record. Ice allows us to do that through Zone. Okay,
true that. Yeah, he was on Sirius and stuff. I don't know if he's still on Sirius, but yeah, he was out there.
He might. The show still might be going. Yeah. I know most of them end up sooner or later on SoundCloud as well. But yeah, his mixers are still banging. He still just get a good dope mix that I'm always hitting him up and being like, hey, what was that? Somewhere along the way. I think he does once a month. I think.
I booked him a couple times, man. Every time, fucking sells out. We like to book him in like places that hold like 250 people, so it's like smashed in there. Like, and it's always a good time.
That's the way. Small clubs are.
That's where it's at, dude. Me too, dude. That's exactly how I am. So what's up with Quadcast? Somebody had mentioned it in the chat. I know we touched on it before. So, I'll let go ahead. What's up with that? I know you're not doing it anymore, but what was it about?
Yeah, it was just we were kind of super early to the podcast game. I think they're still up on iTunes. I think we did 4 or 5. It's a couple of different mixes up there. I think the first one, believe it or not, is an old school mix with me talking all my shit about old school music. Guess what? I haven't. But yeah, so that's still out there. It's a podcast. I think we did 1 through 4. It was, we all at least did one mix of something. I think Supernaut has a couple of drum and bass mixes up there. I think Joe Galdo, what's up, Joe, if you're out there listening? He's got a couple of mixes on there. We got some people from overseas doing some too, but in general, we just got busy. I mean, we would get together, we would record it together, we'd all edit it and, put it together and then release it. And then we just got busy doing stuff. Ash moved to Cali, and that was kind of the end of us getting together and sitting down and do it all together. We'd like to do it again. We just,
Well, y'all could bring it back.
Yeah.
This is the format right here, man. Get your video, your webcams out, some microphones, boom, run it through OBS, record that shit.
It's possible. I mean, it's not something that we haven't, kind of tossed around a little bit, but, time zones and other responsibilities.
Yeah, and all that adulting.
Who knows? We'll see. Yeah.
All right, somebody wanted to ask, I forget who it is now, about animation.
So animation was the record that was on the sampler that was going to be alongside the Soul Reflection CD that never came out.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, so somebody knows about it out there, so clearly somebody's got their hands on it or saw a CD somewhere, or I don't even have a copy of it, to be honest with you. So if someone out there has it, send it to me because I lost that drive somewhere along the way.
All right.
Maybe my mom has a CD copy somewhere, but who knows?
All right. Let's see what else we had in the chat. Probably not going to be able to get to everybody's stuff. So, let's see what else we got on our list. So, yeah, I don't know, man. We kind of covered a lot of stuff. Wow. Yeah.
We did cover a lot.
Are you going to be playing anywhere? Like, what's up with what's going on down there? You guys are still on lockdown, right?
We're coming out. I think we're in phase 2 right now. So
you guys are in phase 2 as well. Okay. See, I thought that from like Palm Beach down, it was like you guys weren't.
Yeah, I think we just got into phase 2 on Monday. So I've already had a couple of people hit me up for parties. There's something I got back to them too late. So there's something going on July 11th down here. I won't be there, but they did ask.
I saw that. I think it was Sunshine State of Base or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
It's going to be Mike Nice. Mike Nice is a great guy. Go see him. Mike and Charlie. Mike Nice, awesome DJ. Go check him out. Yeah, but there'll be stuff coming. We were on a nice little roll before this whole pandemic thing. We were playing at Scarlett's up in Fort Lauderdale. That was a good time. And then Winter Music Conference was coming up, and there's a lot of cool stuff that was coming along with that, and then that got completely wiped off the table for the pandemic. So I've been cooling my jets for a while. We'll see what comes up. There's nothing terrible. Like I said, there's a bunch of like offers, like in that Spain offer, and then there's the culture. I'm still one of the culture residents, so I'm sure sooner or later there'll be a party popping up somewhere and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, they just opened our bars and restaurants on Friday.
Cool.
Last Friday. So yeah, no, that'll be cool, man. What's up, Supernaut? He's in the chat, Joe. So yeah, I guess we can wrap it up, man. I didn't know we were gonna make it through all of this stuff, but we definitely, holy shit, I'm definitely happy with how this came out. So just so everybody, if you guys have never tuned in before, like Mixed Days is basically we do these podcasts. We're trying to book people like Merlyn, DJs, producers, music enthusiasts, just to kind of get some like behind the scenes stuff. I gotta think of it but it's like VH1 behind the music, for DJs. And I had some more inappropriate names for it because of the scene, but I'm not putting those out there. But yeah, that's kind of how, and it's cool like hearing all this background stuff because like what I was saying to some other people is like, if you go to the club, you see the DJ, you don't really get to talk to him, And so, like, you don't really get to find out about all the stuff that we covered tonight, Like, I bet a lot of the stuff people were hearing for the first time. So it's cool that, you were cool to do this, and I'm hoping, we get to keep this stuff kind of going. I think this is a good format for, like, one of the ways to move the scene kind of in a forward direction. It's like having a different format besides just the music, something that people can dig into that would get them interested in it outside of like going to the club or just hearing the music and DJing and things like that. So it's
always great it's always kind of a surprise that anybody wants to really hear.
It's not though, but I'll tell you something, man. I guess, being humble, I can definitely hear that, I can see that perspective, but I'll tell you something, man, like some of these records that I have and the tracks, dude, I just want to know how they got to be. It's like the Spellbound CD, dude. I've wondered about that CD forever, dude. Forever. And I never got to meet you. I've been to some parties where you were at and stuff like that, but I was never around when you were hanging out, so I never got to meet you. So it was cool to like hear that background stuff. And it's definitely interesting, it's just more information about like something that I love and that other people love, and it's cool to get the background on it.
I'm humbled and honored that you give a shit.
Yeah. And it's not just me. I'll tell you, man, like people want to know this stuff. Like it's interesting. That's why there's a VH1 behind the music. People want to know, it's just a different kind of consumption, of stuff from the scene. So definitely appreciate you doing it. What's up, Mark V? Just joining us. Mark V's got the bomb ass stream coming from Orlando. So, we can wrap it up. So what I was going to say, sorry, I'm getting off topic here. So if you guys haven't checked out the page, we have interviews like this. We got live streams that we do, which my live stream is actually a Florida Breaks live stream that I'm doing. But that's really because of the copyright thing that's on Facebook. But we also do newer music over on Mixcloud, because Mixcloud. Have you gotten into streaming? Do you know anything about the streaming game?
Yeah, I know a lot about it. I just don't do it.
Okay.
I'm a lot more of a recluse than I like to admit. I have a lot of other hobbies and a lot of other things that I do. I've watched all the streaming stuff that's been going on, and like I'm just kind of geeking out on like me being able to tune in at any time and seeing Questlove DJ or
John Digweed
or Craze or John Digweed or whoever. Like it's been super cool to be able to like log in and do stuff. I'm like, there's plenty of other people playing breaks and other stuff, and like, who for me, it's like I might be contributing something, maybe not, but I'm just having a good time kicking back and enjoying what other people are doing and letting other people get shine and do their thing.
Right. True that. No, I can respect that. You would definitely have an audience though, but it's an interesting arena. It's like, it's a different thing from DJing in clubs and stuff like that. So on our page, on the YouTube, we got a bunch of interviews that we've done with people. We had Bahaman on a couple weeks ago. We got Infinity on there. We got Slam and Sean on there. So check that stuff out. And we're just trying to, do some stuff here, something different, for people that so they can be involved in the scene kind of, and maybe not having to go out to the bars and stuff like that, because I'm old. I don't want to stay out till 4 o'clock in the morning anymore, so my girlfriend don't like that shit. So it's kind of like, I'm good with doing something else. So if you guys, hit that follow button up there at the top, like the page, check us out on YouTube and Mixcloud, all that good stuff. So, dude, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, man. This has been like one of the highlights of my time in the scene, dude. For sure, man. I appreciate everything that we talked about.
Again, happy to be here. Thank you for asking me. It's been cool. Good conversation. I think you were supposed to ask me something before you let me go, though.
Oh, dude, thank you. Holy shit. I had it written down, too. All right, so, dang, good call, man. See, that's how I am. I forget shit. So, we did a contest with Tears of Technology, and all you had to do was click the link and put your name on his website and your email, and he's doing a re-release of Saphira, and the contest was, we're just going to pick somebody who's going to get a mint copy of the record. And Dan, I don't know if you're in the chat. I didn't see you come in, but say something if you're in there. If not, we're just going to pick this number, and then we're going to have to get back to the people who enter the drawing. So basically, he's doing a re-release on Saphira. I guess the digital might have got held up because of some release problem with the Rona. And then, so the winner's going to get a mint copy of the actual original release record. So we'll be contacting whoever that is after we find out who the winner is. So if you're in the chat or watching the stream, we got your email address. So Merlyn was so gracious enough to he's going to pick a random number. So I'm going to give him a choice. He can pick any number between 1 and 50, and then we're going to do the drawing based on what number that is, a corresponding name to that number. So spin the wheel, dude. Go for it. So between 1 and 50.
1 and 50. 7.
7. All right. Number 7. I got it written down right here. Holy shit, I can't believe I forgot that, dude. That's ridiculous. So I prepped him so hard for it. I fucking forgot. Okay, so I don't see Dan in here. So number 7, we don't know who you are yet, but you're the winner, and we'll be getting in contact with you once I relay this to Dan, and then we'll send you the record, get your address, and all that kind of stuff. So, dude, really appreciate it. I mean, it means a lot to me, man. I know it meant a lot to the people in the chat. When you go back through and look through the chat, you'll see what I'm talking about, dude. People had nothing but mad respect for you, bad props, everything that you've done, things like that. So, dude, you're definitely loved in the scene, man, for sure, 100%. So
I'm honored, like I said, humbled and honored, and thank you guys for tuning in. I'm still shocked that you did, but thank you for that.
Dude, wait till you watch it. You're going to be like, damn, this was cool. It's fun, man. It's some fun stuff. So we're going to wrap it up. Appreciate it, dude. And I'm just going to sign off here, and then everybody, this will be up on YouTube probably in like a week. I got a couple other releases that are coming out first. And then we will see you guys next time. And Merlyn, dude, just sit tight. We'll reconvene in a second. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.